You know, sometimes the wildest stories, they're not really about aliens or secret government plots at all. They're trying to get at something much, much deeper, something way more personal. Yeah, that one question. I think we've all been there, right? Maybe staring at the ceiling at 3 in the morning, just wondering, why is everything so hard? Well, today, we're going to dive into a story that offers maybe the biggest, most cosmic answer to that question you could possibly imagine. And it all kicks off not with a spaceship, but with a letter. A really desperate letter from an old woman. Okay, so picture this. It's 2007. An author, Lawrence Spencer, gets this mysterious package in the mail. Inside, he finds a stack of military documents and this handwritten letter from an 84-year-old woman, a former Army nurse named Matilda O'Donnell McElroy. And her message is urgent. She says she only has a few weeks left to live and she's been holding on to a secret for 60 years. A secret she just refuses to take to the grave. So her story throws us right back to that infamous morning at Roswell Army Airfield. The whole base is electric, totally buzzing with activity. There are strange faces everywhere, armed guards. You can just feel the tension. Matilda, who's a flight nurse with the 59th Bomb Group, gets pulled aside. MPs escort her to a secret hangar. And a colonel looks her in the eye and says, "A craft went down. There's a survivor. Your job is to keep it alive." And when she walks inside, whoa. It's not a pilot, it's this tiny, 3-foot-tall being. It looks almost like a doll. And you can imagine, all the military guys in the room, they're looking at this thing like it's a threat, a problem to be solved. But Matilda, she's a nurse. She sees a patient. So she walks up to it, all calm, and just as she's about to say something, a thought just appears in her head. A voice, but not a voice. It's the being, and it's talking to her directly into her mind. So this being, who Matilda comes to know as Errol, starts sharing these just mind-blowing ideas. She says that every single conscious thing in the universe, you, me, everyone, is what she calls an ISB. It stands for Immortal Spiritual Being. And get this, our bodies, they're not us. They're just temporary vehicles. Kind of like a car you drive for a while and then leave behind. Okay, buckle up because this is where the story goes completely off the rails. Arl tells Matilda that Earth is not a planet. It's a prison. Yeah, a giant prison built eons ago by this ancient, nasty civilization she calls the Old Empire. And who were the prisoners? Well, anyone they couldn't control. Artists, rebels, deep thinkers, basically anyone who was different. Essentially, Arl was saying it was built for people like us. All right, so you're probably wondering, how does this prison even work? Well, according to Arl, it's this incredibly clever but totally cruel system. When one of our bodies dies, our spirit, our ISB, gets zapped and caught in this giant cosmic energy net around the planet. Then, bam, all of our memories, everything we ever were, get electronically wiped clean. They even project this whole hypnotic light show, you know, the tunnel of light, seeing your grandma, to trick you, to make you think you're going to heaven. But really, you're just being reprogrammed and shot right back down into a new baby's body on Earth to do it all over again, with absolutely no memory of who you were before. Now, Arl's people, the Domain, they were the good guys. They had actually defeated this evil old empire a long, long time ago. But the prison, Earth, it was still running, just on autopilot. So the Domain decided they had to do something. They put together this elite special forces unit, 3,000 of their absolute best officers, and sent them on the mission to Earth to basically shut the whole thing down. But the mission was a total disaster, an absolute catastrophe. The prison's automated defenses were just too strong. It captured every single one of them, all 3,000, and they got the same treatment as everyone else. Memories wiped, hypnotically reprogrammed, and thrown right into the human reincarnation cycle. Arl called them the Lost Battalion. And here's the kicker. She said they're still here, right now, living among us as regular people, with no clue, absolutely no idea who they really are. And then Arl drops the biggest bombshell of all. She explains to Matilda why they have this strange connection, why Matilda is the only person who can understand her. It's because Matilda, she's one of them. She is one of the captured officers from the Lost Battalion. So for 6 incredible weeks, Matilda is basically Errol's scribe, transcribing everything. But of course, the military starts getting really antsy. They want answers, they want technology. They separate Matilda from Errol, and when Errol refuses to cooperate with them, they get aggressive. They resort to electroshocking her little doll-like body. And how's this for irony? That's the exact same technology the old empire used to wipe memories. The moment they did that, Errol's consciousness just left. She abandoned the physical body, leaving it totally lifeless, an empty shell. After that, Matilda was forced into silence, sworn to secrecy for her entire life. It wasn't until decades later, on her deathbed, that she finally broke that silence and mailed her transcripts to Lawrence Spencer. That package led to the book Alien Interview, and the story just exploded. It became this huge phenomenon. But the tragic part? Matilda never got to see it. She passed away before it was published, pulled right back into that same prison cycle she had desperately tried to warn us all about. I mean, what a story, right? It's incredible. It's heartbreaking. It's so compelling. But as more and more people started digging into the transcripts, really picking them apart, they started noticing little things, weird details that just didn't quite add up. And slowly but surely, this perfect story started to show some cracks. Okay, so this is where the detective work really begins. Check out these timeline problems. The transcripts are supposed to be from 1947, right? But they use words like computer and database all over the place. Those terms weren't really common until the 60s. And then there's a mention of Jonas Salk being this amazing genius. But nobody knew who Jonas Salk was until 1955 when he developed the polio vaccine. Even tiny details like the date format, it was European style, not the kind of thing you'd see in a US military document from that era. But honestly, all those little details, they were nothing compared to the biggest crack in the story. It wasn't about a word here or a date there. It was the ideas themselves. People started to realize that the core concepts, these immortal spiritual beings, the ancient galactic war, the memory-wiping stations, and especially Earth being a prison planet, all of this sounded really familiar. In fact, it was almost a perfect match, sometimes word for word, with the doctrines of Scientology. And then, well, the whole thing just clicks into place. Because the author, Lawrence Spencer, the guy who swore he was just the editor of Matilda's notes, he finally admitted it. He'd been a practicing Scientologist for over 31 years. It all started to make sense. And here's the real nail in the coffin for a lot of people. When researchers asked Spencer, okay, just show us the original documents, the letters, the transcripts Matilda sent you. His answer? He said he burned them. All of them. Said he didn't want the government or anyone else hounding him. So the only witness is gone, and all the physical evidence is conveniently up in smoke. Right. So, okay, it looks pretty likely that the story of Matilda and Arl isn't a historical account, but more like a modern piece of fiction, probably built on top of Scientology ideas and wrapped in the mystery of Roswell. But you know what? That, to me, opens up a much more interesting question. If it's fake, why does it feel so true to so many people? Why did millions read this book and say, this isn't just a story, I feel like I'm remembering this? Think about the power of this idea. The prison planet narrative changes everything. All of a sudden, your suffering isn't just random, meaningless bad luck. No, it has a cause. There's a system that's actively working against you. The feeling that you're limited, that you can't reach your potential, that's not your fault. It's just the prison walls. You're not some random accident of biology. You are an immortal, powerful being who's just forgotten who they are. There is a reason for all of it. And just imagine what that feels like. If you've ever lost someone you love, this story tells you they're not really gone forever. They're just back in the cycle. And maybe one day you'll both remember. Or if you've ever felt like a total outcast, like you just don't fit in anywhere on this planet, this story whispers a little secret in your ear. Maybe that's because you're not from here. Maybe you're one of the heroes. At the end of the day, the story works because it plugs into a deep human need. It gives us this huge, epic reason for why life can be so boring or so painful. That feeling we all get sometimes that we're trapped, that we were meant for something greater, the story says that's not just a feeling. It's a memory. It gives all the struggle a point. And I think that's the real takeaway here. When people are so ready to believe a story like this, it's not because they're gullible or foolish. Not at all. It's because we are all, every single one of us, searching for hope. We're looking for meaning in a world that can feel really chaotic and pointless sometimes. This isn't about gullibility. It's about hope. So that kind of leaves us with one last big question to chew on, doesn't it? If a story gives someone genuine comfort, if it helps them make sense of their suffering and gives them hope, how much does it really matter if it's factually true? It's a fascinating question about truth, about myth, and about the stories we all need to tell ourselves just to get by on this strange planet or prison that we call home.